dance. Let me see you move.
Love never felt so good. And I died they never could. Not like you. Oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local, well, it never felt so good. Well, we've all seen pictures and commercials about poor souls like these who need help from abuse, but sometimes even animals who look like they should be in a beautiful dog or cat show also run the risk of being abused. That's if we don't do all that we can to help them live longer, healthier lives. So if you love your pet, find out how you can help give him or her a better life. This is a show that's going straight to the dogs and the cats. We'll be right back with more Local Matters. Hello, everyone, and welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local, well, it never felt so good. And it never felt so good to have joining me this morning two very important women who are doing some really great work here in Calhoun County. And it is City Councilwoman, City Councilwoman Millie Harris, and then Jane Cunningham. She is the president of the Cheaha Regional Humane Society Board, right?
That's
so
exactly
welcome aboard
right.
to
Thank
Local
you.
Matters. Millie, so I can imagine when you're not doing your city council work, this is what you're doing. You're working with animals, and I will say this: Bob Bark, even though he's old and at about 90, but if he knew exactly what you were doing, he would be so proud of you, because he would always remind us at the end of every segment of The Price is Right, for those who remember Bob Barker, and I think they still do it, to have your animals spayed and neutered. And that's what you do relentlessly. Tell us a little bit about that, Millie.
Dottie, after I retired from teaching, I started doing lots of volunteer work here. I've always had a love for animals.
Okay.
And you know, sometimes some people say, well, where did that come from? I grew up with my parents teaching me a love and compassion for God's creatures.
Okay.
And so I volunteered at a no-kill shelter for several years. And it was a pretty horrible thing that some of these animals just weren't being adopted. And there were so many coming in, and there was such a need. And so my husband told me, he said, you need to do something different. You know, I was going in mopping, cleaning up, doing all this stuff. He said, anybody can do common labor.
Right.
He said, what you need to do is really make a difference. And so Margaret Hatley, who is an insurance agent here in Anniston, she and I came together and we formed a 501c3 nonprofit SAVE.
Okay.
And our mission really—
And those acronyms are?
Saving Animals Volunteer Effort.
Okay.
And our mission is to put shelters like Cheaha Regional Humane out of business, because we want to empty we want to empty all the shelters. And so by helping people who cannot afford it have their dogs and cats spayed and neutered. Right. And so we have fundraisers throughout the year. No one makes a salary. 100% of all of our proceeds go to help these families who otherwise could not afford it themselves.
Right. Good deal. So, you know, and speaking of that, you mentioned that you're going to have a fundraiser coming up really, I know that there's a fundraiser coming up soon. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But now, coming back to you, you mentioned you want to just really see and hope that you can put them out of business, and them being Jane Cunningham, you are?
I am the president of Cheaha Regional Humane, and we want her to put us out of business. That is something we definitely want. This is a free job for me too. I have another business where I make my living, but because of so many horrendous things going on at the shelter, we formed a very good board because we wanted to do something different too.
Tell me a little bit about the board that you formed. I know you're the president, but you also, and you're working with some pretty important people here in Calhoun County.
I am. I'm very privileged to serve with them. We have Phyllis Deal, that's Miller Office Supply. We have Judge Peggy Miller on our board. We have Kay Kaiser and Tom Wright, who's an attorney here in town. And then we also, on our advisory board, we have the district attorney, Brian McVeigh, the sheriff, Chief Bill Partridge. We have some pretty impressive judges from out of Birmingham, Judge Val and Judge Nikki Steele. They have helped us a lot. Plus, we have Dr. Bill Berry and Dr. Tom Beam on the board and Dr. Shelley Ray. So,
Wow.
So we are really privileged to have some good people.
A strong board. And again, this is the Cheaha Regional Humane Society Board.
It is, and we are a nonprofit. That is something that we did differently because the county could not qualify for grants or donations.
Okay.
So by contracting to a nonprofit, now we can get those grants and help the animals and help the community of Calhoun County.
Great, good deal. Here's my question. So let's say there's someone, because we're going to bring Blondie on
Yes.
a little bit in our next segment.
Blondie will be the star.
Right, Blondie's coming aboard, everybody. She needs a home, Blondie. But I understand Blondie's owner went to jail.
Right.
So tell me, so do you go to court to represent poor animals who, of course, can't talk for themselves?
Absolutely, we do a lot of cruelty cases. Now, in Blondie's case, she was surrendered by the person that was taking care of her to us. Okay. But we do cruelty cases, and that's something that's never really been worked in Calhoun County, and that's why we got the people we did on the board, so that when people are harming their animals and not taking care of their animals, that we could help those animals. We want to be the voice for those animals.
And we're talking about really cruel things like, and I want to bring up some pictures. These are not pictures that people like to see, but it happens all too frequent that when you see dogs that have been burned, and chained, starved, where you can see their bones.
Right.
These are the types of animals that you are going to court to represent.
Absolutely.
And to be the voice for these poor animals.
Absolutely, and the ones that I showed you earlier, those are just animals that's just been in the last 3 or 4 days. How long have this organization, the Humane Society, the Cheaha Regional Humane Society Board, how long has it been since you've got started? We started our contract with Calhoun County in December of 2013, so we're still relatively new.
Yes, you are, very new.
But as of last month, we got 129 animals out alive. We have a transport going to New York next month with 20 animals. We had a transport that went to Texas. So we're very pleased that we're making a difference.
You are making a difference.
So we're trying, because in the past, everyone, and this is where Millie and I work so well together, in the past, it was just kill, kill, kill. And now we're trying to educate with spay, neuter, and with what we're doing. So I definitely hope she puts us out of business.
And when we come back, we've got to go to break, right? And when we come back, I want to talk more, Millie, with you specifically about some of our new ordinances that are coming down the pipeline. If you would share with us some of that, because you want to make sure that you don't find yourself in court. Because you could easily find yourself in court now. Anniston we're not playing anymore when it comes to doing any kind of harm to animals. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Local Matters, where living local, well, it never felt so good. Never felt so good to be joined this morning with City Councilwoman Millie Harris, Jane Cunningham, right?
That's
Who is
right.
also, she is the Cheaha Regional Humane Society Board President.
Yes.
Two very important organizations that you're working for. Specifically to help people like Miss Blondie right here. If you can zoom in and everybody see Blondie. She is with us on set. Yeah, is Blondie there? We still don't see Blondie.
There she is.
Does Blondie have a last name?
No, Blondie does not. She needs a last name. She needs a family
she
to
just
give
go
her a
just like
last name.
Beyonce, right? Beyonce,
That's right.
Beyonce is just Blondie. So Blondie is needing a home. Her poor owner went to jail.
Her owner went to jail, and Blondie is a very young dog. She's only about 1.5 years old. She's up to date on her shot. She's spayed, neutered. She's ready to go whenever the right family comes along. But the people that were keeping the dog for the owner surrendered her to the shelter, and she has been there since June. She's just such a doll.
So she's been there since June. So we're in August. So just a couple of months.
Her time should have already been up at the shelter, but because she's such a sweetheart, we want to find her a family.
You know what? I would adopt her right now, but I know that I would find myself. Millie probably would be coming to have me arrested because I would be the one, and I wouldn't do it, purposefully. I would not be doing that, but I know that I would not be able to give her the attention that she
Right.
needs, you know, because I'm
Right.
never home. It's very costly to have an animal nowadays. You know, it's not like when I grew up where you could just throw them outside and throw them a bone and you know,
Right.
love on them whatever you wanted to and just keep going. She would need the attention that I just really couldn't afford to give her, so I wouldn't take her right now. But Millie, you have seen that all too well. That's one of the reasons why you started doing what you're doing, because in the old animal shelter, which was the animal control.
Chehaw, Calhoun County, animal control.
That's what it
Center.
was, and even when they were there, the animals weren't taken care of the way they should have been taken care
No,
of.
they certainly were not. It was a pretty terrible situation, but thank goodness it is so much better. Thank goodness that Chehaw Regional Humane has taken over, and so much better. But it was a horrible place.
And tell me right now, I know you're working on some legislation right now that we have, as you mentioned, we have laws on the books right now, but they're kind of vague. And so now if a person is found to be an animal abuser, if you will, the laws, that the legislation you're writing is going to define them more. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Dottie, the state of Alabama has certain laws, and it says that you must provide adequate food, shelter, water, but it doesn't define adequate. And in Anniston, we have seen dogs outside in 10-degree weather with a torn-up doghouse, no water, no food, or very, very little. And so what we're doing is we are rewriting the ordinance to define what is adequate.
Right.
Adequate means it's going to be very specific. And I'm so glad that you said that you were not ready to have an animal,
I'm
because
not.
I would urge anyone who is not going to be responsible and it may be beyond their control, please don't get a pet if you cannot treat it the way it should be treated. And that includes chaining. Now, I did try to get an ordinance passed in Anniston to prohibit chaining. Not only is it a very cruel practice, but it's also very dangerous.
Yes, it
Animals, dogs are pack animals, and to confine a dog on a chain away from people only makes them aggressive. It is not a good thing to do, so please don't get a pet if you're going to treat it like that.
And this is a true story. This is back in the 70s. And honestly, we grew up with dogs. My dad loved dogs, and we did too. We always had Dobermans, believe it or not. I love Dobermans. And we were driving down from Chicago to see my grandmother here in Anniston, and she lived up on the hill. She lives up on a hill, high hill. The porch sits way up. I would probably say at least 6 feet, at least off the ground. And we didn't know any better then. My dad was really, really young then, probably in his late 20s, early 30s. We tied Scotty Girl, that's her name, Scotty Girl, around, with a leash around her neck to keep her from running away while we were inside with other family members who were afraid of Dobermans. And Scotty Girl saw something out there. We don't know what it was, but she saw something, and she tried to launch at it, and she hung herself.
Oh, goodness.
She hung herself, and I have never got over Scotty Girl hanging herself. Like, she did it by accident. So you have to be careful, even when you do, as you mentioned, you have dogs on leashes. Nowhere. I mean, you got to think about where.
Exactly.
And we didn't even think about it. We came out, and there, poor Scotty Girl was hanging.
Oh,
Terrible.
that's so sad.
Yeah, so that's why I'm really passionate about. I love dogs, but I know that I'm not ready for a dog, and a lot of people may not want to admit that. My sister also had some issues going on with her dog here in Calhoun County, where she didn't know that he was getting out every day, and he was running, and so people in the community were calling I guess law officials on her. She had to go to court, and she asked the judge, this is right here in Calhoun County, what she had to come to court for. He said, because dog running at large. And I didn't realize that was even a real,
It is against the law.
to have a dog running at large.
It certainly is. We do have a leash law, and to allow a dog to run at large, it puts the dog in danger, but it can put the public in danger. You know, very few dogs are mean or aggressive, but there are those situations when one could be, and very rare, but anyway, to let one loose and let it run is totally against the law. So So sorry about your sister, but
I know, but she did. So after that, so but her name was what was her name? Her name was Winter. Winter was roaming. She was looking for. I guess Winter was looking for a boyfriend too. I think Winter had not been spayed and neutered, but I think Winter was looking for a boyfriend. So
yeah.
So tell us a little bit. When we come back, we've got to go to break right now. I hear them counting down in my ear. We're going to talk more about what it means to have why it's so important to have your animals spayed and neutered. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back once again. Welcome aboard to Local Matters, where living local never felt so good. Never felt so good to be joined by two women who are making a difference here in Calhoun County when it comes to animals. This show is going to the dogs. It's all about the dogs and cats today. Before we went to break, we were talking about why it's so important to have your animal spayed and neutered. And I shared with them that I had a niece dog, because it was my sister's dog. So she was my niece dog who would get out all of the time. And I think Winter was looking for a boyfriend because she hadn't been spayed or neutered. And she was causing quite a scare to people in the neighborhood who didn't know if she would bite or things of that nature. Millie, I understand you have been working with this again passionately for the last several years. You're in the process of writing some new legislation that is going to be more defined about animals. But I wanted to share with our viewers this wonderful picture here that Jane's holding. She is the president of the Cheaha Regional Humane Society Board. Millie, who is this?
Dottie, this dog's name is Breeze. And you know, every one of them have their story. You go to Cheaha Regional Humane, and behind every dog that's there or cat, there is a story. Somehow a person was irresponsible or something happened to cause them to be there. This happened a while back. A lady from Jacksonville State University called me. You saw the picture of the puppies there.
Right.
And anyway, she picked up this poor dog on the side of the road on a rainy, cold night. She gets the dog home, and the pictures you just saw were 2 hours after she got home. The female dog started having puppies.
It's a shame. Who would just abandon a dog? And not only just the dog, but now we're talking about maybe 5, 6 other little lives.
It was horrible. I cannot imagine what would have happened to this poor dog had this sweet soul not stopped and picked her up. Well, she gets in touch with me. Everybody gets in touch with me. Sometimes I wish they didn't.
Right.
But
I see you on Facebook.
But anyway, we found homes for many of the puppies up in New Hampshire. And the reason why...
I was like, you're going to say, why are they going way to New Hampshire?
Well, because they have stricter laws there. They have what they call differentiated licensing. If you don't have your dog spayed or neutered, you pay a significant fee. And so they don't have the stray issues that we have here. Right. So we found homes for most of these puppies up in New Hampshire. The ones that we didn't find homes for, we found homes here. Okay. Well, then but the one that was left was Breeze, the mama dog. So let me just tell you this: we finally found a home for Breeze up in New Hampshire.
That was her name.
Her name was Breeze. She named her Breeze, and this is Breeze. The morning I went to her house to pick. No, I'm sorry, that's the last one. Somehow they got out of line there.
Right.
But this is the morning. I went to her house to pick up Breeze to take her to meet her ride to New Hampshire. Okay. It's Rescue Riders Transport. They come twice a month to Alabama, pick up dogs that have homes waiting up there. Well, she's kissing Breeze goodbye that morning, and there were a lot of tears shed. So I take Breeze to meet the transport, and then she rides about 12 hours in this van. And the last picture here is of her. You can turn it up this way where they can see of her mama. No, upside down. There we go.
There we go.
Her new mama in New Hampshire picks her up, and she's living a great life up there.
So she was flown.
No, she rode. She rode in a van all the way to New Hampshire. Actually, was in a truck.
Wow.
So they don't have the problems there. And actually, this woman actually paid for the adoption fee for this dog. So they value animals, and you know, the animals that are just dying on the side of the road here, they value, and it's.
Are we going to with the new legislation that you're writing? Because let me focus on present. What do we have presently in terms of animals running at large? There is a law, right? That's a law.
Absolutely. There is a law that is against the law to let your animal go loose. It is against the law. And the problem sometimes is enforcing the law. But when they run loose, they can have, if they're not fixed, they can create a problem with all these puppies or kittens if they're not fixed. When I say not fixed, not spayed or not neutered.
That's right.
But they can also get hit, killed on the side of the road, or many times they can starve to death. And so it is a horrible, horrible problem that we have here in Alabama and in Anniston and our county. It's pretty heartbreaking, really.
And so the legislation that you're writing, is it going to be something that's going to maybe pinpoint who the owners would be, or something along those lines? How are you going to define?
What we're planning on doing is we have a license requirement here in Anniston, but it's not enforced. When we do this, the dog will have an ID on it if it accidentally gets loose.
Okay.
Where animal control can call the owner and say, I've got your dog, so he won't have to load the shelter down. The shelter's already full.
Oh, yes.
And to stop this from happening, if the dog is not fixed, the fee is going to be significantly higher than if the dog is spayed or neutered.
Okay.
And then this money will go into a fund to help low-income families have their dogs spayed and neutered, just like they do in other places.
And I'm glad you said that, because I know several women who now live in senior citizen homes. They, and they love their animals. A lot of them, their animals are not spayed because they can't afford it. So you're working some of this legislation that you're writing, and I know you're working on some grants and things of that nature to help provide and to help get more money into these organizations.
Absolutely. The ones we're working on are zip code.
I want to talk quickly before we go. You've got a golfing tournament coming up soon.
Absolutely. This is the first golf tournament that we have had, and it's going to be Saturday at Pine Hill Country Club.
Okay.
And all the proceeds, as do all our events, go to help these families have their pets spayed and neutered. It's an inexpensive thing, but every penny goes to that.
Okay.
And so it's going to be $200 a team or $50 a person. There are 4 people on a team. And we would love to have more participation in this tournament to help us with our mission of no more homeless pets in Calhoun County.
All right. So thank you so much for coming aboard, Councilwoman Millie Harris. Thank you for coming aboard,
Thank you.
Cunningham. And thank you for joining us. And we'll look to see you back next week with more Local Matters. We got to go now. Have a great day, everyone.
So good.